This is Laura Ingraham on Fox News. Believe it or not, I got a subscription to Fox Nation. I actually pay for this garbage. She got this guy to come to Manhattan and interview people, do a man on the street segment. This is a propaganda technique. I don't think it's named, but I'm naming it if it isn't named yet. I'm just calling it the man on the street segment, where they get like 100 people and they interview them all and they pick out the ones that support their already existing view, right? So they found 100 people on the streets of Manhattan, they interviewed them, and they found some people they could talk to that are pissed off about immigrants, basically. So anyways, let's give this a listen, see what they have to say for themselves. It's pure propaganda all the way down with Fox News every single time. So it's actually kind of fascinating to analyze and watch. But anyway, let's give this a listen and see what they have to say, shall we? Oh, and while we do, we're going to play some Final Fantasy VIII. I'm just kind of going through the game, about halfway through, give or take. If you haven't played it before, it'll be in the background. Shouldn't bother you too much, so. Okay, let's give this a listen, see what she has to say, shall we?
Joining me now, Molly Hemingway, editor-in-chief of The Federalist, and Ben Domenech, editor-at-large of The Spectator. Both are Fox News contributors. Marty, they act like the Republicans are the...
Wait, who is they? Are they in the room with us right now, Laura? What are you talking about? What do you mean when you say they act like the Republicans? Are we talking like people who are to the left of hunting the homeless for sport? Is that who we're referring to?
Fascists, when they're the ones who are married to these plutocrats who are exercising, it appears to be, all the power within the party, regardless of what the people want.
Right.
Dude, who the hell is she talking about right now? I'm so lost. Who is they? She got really, really weirdly specific with who they is, but I still have no idea who it is.
They act like the Republicans are the fascists when they're the ones who are married to these plutocrats who are exercising, it appears to be, all the power within the party, regardless of what the people want.
Right. You also hear the consensus in Washington, D.C. is that Republicans are very divided. They're actually not divided. They're pretty unified on policy, at least among the voters.
Well, they may be unified on policy among the voters. We're talking Republicans right now. That may be true, but they are divided on Donald Trump. They, as the Republican Party, Republicans generally, cannot stand Donald Trump by and large. Only 30% of the Republican Party even like the dude, which is fascinating to me, actually. The other 60, 70 or so percent will not oblige having Trump in office again, which is good. It's good for us. You know what it means? It means that when the general election comes up, Donald Trump is going to lose, almost guaranteed. I mean, right now he's only polling at 42%. The people who are not voting for Donald Trump right now or are not polling high for Donald Trump are not going to vote for him because they believe that the election was stolen, the Trump supporters do, and all that other garbage. So they're going to vote for him no matter what, the Trump supporters. If they aren't voting for him, then they don't believe him, by and large, as far as I can tell.
But you look at the difference between the Democrat elite, the ruling regime, and their voters. They have strong division. The Democrat leaders love having someone like Joe Biden. He's able to implement all of their goals. The people who run the agencies are getting to accomplish, who are very radical, to be honest.
Who are very radical. In what way? How is the Democratic Party very radical? What the hell are you talking about? And also, how is the Democratic Party divided? I thought in her mind, Democrats were all in agreement on the fact that CRT should be taught in kindergarten and I don't know, whatever other crazy stuff they believe. What other crazy stuff do they believe? Let's see. We should be giving a 5-year-old's trans surgery mandatory. Every 5-year-old receives mandatory trans-affirming surgery, whether they're trans or not. I mean, I could go on and on. It's a massive list of insane stuff. I'm surprised that she's even saying this, but you know what's fascinating about this? She's contradicting herself right now. But that's like one of the tenets of fascism. Your enemy has to be simultaneously too weak to do anything of value, but too strong to overpower. That's one of the tenets of fascism. We're just kind of listening to it here. We're listening to it play out. Laura Ingraham is upset about the fact that Republicans are viewed as fascists, while we sit here and listen to them describe themselves, or describe fascism effectively, right?
Democrat elite, the ruling regime, and their voters, they have strong division. The Democrat leaders love having someone like Joe Biden. He's able to implement all of their goals. The people who run the agencies are getting to accomplish, who are very radical, to be honest. They get to implement all of what they want, but they are losing these voters. They're losing not just white working class voters, but also black working class voters.
No, not really. I mean, they live in a fantasy land. And this is really interesting, actually. The reason, in my opinion, that she's saying this, that she is framing it up like the Democrats are losing all this stuff or whatever, the reason she's saying this is because they want to set it up as though Democrats have no way of winning the election, the upcoming election. So when Republicans inevitably lose, which in my opinion is almost guaranteed, when they inevitably lose, they're going to claim voter fraud because there's no way they could have lost. In my opinion, that's what's going to happen. That's what she's setting everything up for. Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video.
And it's a real opportunity here.
Well, KJP was asked about this problem that the Democrat voters have with Biden today, about his age and so forth. This is what she said.
Okay, Biden is like 2 years older than Trump. If you have a problem with Biden's age, you have a problem with Trump's age too, by default, by definition. But do they ever talk about Trump's age? Of course not.
Look, here's what I know. Here's what I can speak to. I can speak to a president who has wisdom. I can speak to a president who has experience. I can speak to a president who has done has taken historic action and has delivered in historic pieces of legislation.
That's true. Biden's been in the Senate or in government in some other form for longer than I've been alive. He's been in government for like 50 years, hasn't he? I have no idea how long he was in office, but it was a long time. Like Senate talking. He's been in the Senate for like ever. And the House, I think maybe. I don't even know exactly. In my humble opinion, Donald Trump and Joe Biden are both perfectly fine mentally. Not fine for, like, I guess they're fine for the job mentally because they're not, like, deteriorating. I mean, there's a natural deterioration that comes with being, 80 years old, which Trump and Biden basically are. There's a smaller age difference between Trump and Biden than there is between me and my wife. So if they're going to complain about Biden's age, I have to complain about Trump's. But I don't believe for a second, for the record, my wife's 28 and I'm 33 or somewhere in there. So anyway, I don't believe for a second that Biden or Trump have any degree of dementia or of Alzheimer's disease or anything. I don't believe it for a second. You know why? Because if they did, we would have started seeing signs by now. They've been claiming this about Trump and Biden both for over 6 years. That's roughly how long it takes to completely deteriorate. They would both be incapable of giving any kind of talks of any sort in front of the public if they really were deteriorating mentally like that. They have the standard amount of deterioration that's expected with somebody at that age, but they don't have dementia. They don't have, Alzheimer's. They don't have any of that stuff.
And that's important.
Exploding budget deficit we just learned about. Inflation's back.
I just love that KJP had...
What? Inflation is not back. What are you talking about? Exploding deficit? No, the deficit is down dramatically compared to what it was under Trump. What are you talking about right now, Laura? It's like she lives in this alternate reality where she is like, the victim, or where Republicans are like the victims, the perpetual victims. Insane. You know what's actually kind of fascinating to me? Laura Ingraham, this just aired, I don't know. Well, it just released anyways. They probably pre-tape it. Laura Ingraham is 5 miles away from me right now. I don't know exactly where she lives, but I'm on Manhattan Island. And I think she lives on Manhattan Island also. At the very least, she taped it 5 miles away from me.
Had to read that list.
Oh, she did have to read that. It wasn't a very good list. Can you memorize
Not even
that?
a very good list. Look, the real problem that they're facing right now is that Joe Biden's number...
Who is they? Is he talking about Democrats?
Budget deficit we just learned about. Inflation's back.
I just love that KJP had to read that list.
Oh, she did have to read that. It wasn't a very good list. Can you memorize
Not even
that?
a very good list. Look, the
Wait. Karine Jean-Pierre, KJP. That's what they're calling her?
real problem that they're facing right now is that Joe Biden's numbers among working class voters, non-college educated voters, are now looking more and more similar to Democrat numbers among white working class non-college voters. And that's something that's very dangerous for them. And the reason is it hurts them in particular areas in our political map in ways that are almost impossible to recover from. If your coalition becomes a bunch of white elites and college kids, then you're not going to be able to have the kind of coalition that Joe Biden was able to form in the past, and you're not going to be...
I mean, that's not what's happening, though. Democrats are doing better than ever at this immediate moment. What the hell are you talking about? He's acting like Democrats are like the most unpopular people on planet Earth right now. That's not the case. Biden is actually very, very well liked by a lot of people. It's like they live in an alternate reality. Well, I think they're trying to set people up to believe that Trump won the election in reality when he inevitably loses. In my opinion, that's what's happening.
Be able to see the kind of down ballot results that Democrats need to be able to hold things like the Senate. They are losing working class, Hispanic, Black, and Asian voters in a way that it should be.
That's not happening. No.
Stunning to the party elites, and the New York Times admitting that tells you how far gone this is.
New York Times didn't admit any. What are you talking about? What are these? It's just blatant, flat out lies nonstop. What do you mean New York Times admitting that? Admitting what? Wait, what was it?
Kind of down ballot results that Democrats need to be able to hold things like the Senate. They are losing working class, Hispanic, Black, and Asian voters in a way that it should be stunning to the party elites and the New York.
No, they're not. What are you talking about? These people either live in a fantasy land or they're trying to convince their listeners of just flat out falsehoods. Which is it?
Times admitting that tells you how far gone this is.
That was wild. And Molly, I think this opens the door in such a wide way for the Republicans to walk right through and say, this is what they've done to your cities, your schools, your country. Is this really the horse that you want to ride in on in 2024 for another 4 years? I think it's a huge opening.
Well, to that end, in 2020, you had a campaign where Joe Biden was able to have the media help him across the finish line. He now has
He had the media help him across the finish line, as if Fox News is not considered the media. As if Fox News wasn't carrying as if there isn't a whole right-wing media apparatus. There is a very, very small left-wing media apparatus that exists. The rest of the media out there, like CNN, for example, isn't left-wing at all. I mean, it kind of depends on who's in charge in any given moment, who's going to receive help. I think CNN is kind of moving to the right at this immediate moment, sadly. So I think that we can expect to see them, the right to receive help from CNN, for example. But it's like they seem to think that like they're underdogs or something, or they want their people to believe that they're underdogs. They just live in this delusional fantasy 24/7. It's insane.
Is this really the horse that you want to ride in on in 2024 for another 4 years? I think it's a huge opening.
Well, to that end, in 2020, you had a campaign where Joe Biden was able to have the media help him across the finish line. He now has a track record, and voters are saying that they're not particularly pleased with that. There was that recent Wall Street Journal poll that showed...
No, I think people are pretty pleased with Joe Biden, actually. He's gotten a lot done. Now, the progressive wing of the party, like the Bernie Sanders voters or whatever, not so much. I mean... I'm a Bernie Sanders voter. I think Biden has done a pretty decent job with what he had. Could be worse. I would like to see a progressive in charge. I'd like to see AOC in office, or Bernie Sanders, or any of those people. I'd love to see something like that. Unfortunately, I'm not expecting it. Not holding my breath.
That voters give Trump, the Trump presidency, much higher marks in terms of what was accomplished than the Biden presidency.
I'm sorry, voters? Who are we talking about? Like, this is all just completely made up, all of it. Voters give Trump higher marks than Biden? What?
They think Trump has a vision for the future that Biden just doesn't have. And so
who is they in this case? What do you mean by voters?
Policies that people liked under the Trump administration, which you see so many Republican politicians adopting, they do provide a huge opportunity for some of these voters. But they're
sticking. It's like the Republicans are sticking with McConnell and the Republican elite, and the establishment of the Democrat Party. They have a death grip on Biden. I mean, they will not let him go. Even if he wanted to quit, I think they wouldn't let him quit.
Your mom has a death grip on me.
We need age limits, we need term limits, we need new changes, we need new leadership.
Yes, oh my God, we do. We need age limits and term limits. Yes, yes, yes. I agree with all of that. Finally, something that we can all agree on. I love it.
McConnell and the Republican elite and the establishment of the Democrat Party, they have a death grip on Biden. I mean, they will
like your mom has a death grip on me. I'm gonna keep making it every time I hear it. Sorry, guys.
Not let him go. Even if he wanted to quit, I think they wouldn't let him quit.
We need age limits, we need term limits, we need new changes, we need new leadership in the country. And frankly, the people the problem for the White House trying to spin this Joe Biden presidency in the way that they have the problem for Queen Jean-Pierre, we get visuals every single week of how out of it he is, how out of touch he is, how he turns into this sort of wandering, character.
No, that's just false. That's not happening. He lives in a fantasy, or he's trying to convince you of just complete nonsense. That is not happening. Biden has not mentally deteriorated any more than you would expect somebody of that age to have mentally deteriorated, like Donald Trump. He's deteriorated to the same degree that Donald Trump did. Plain and simple, which is to say a little bit. Yeah, I suppose a little. I mean, you can hear them kind of repeat words, forget things. They pronounce things strangely, but they don't have dementia. They don't have Alzheimer's or any of that stuff. There is no mental deterioration for either of them, I believe.
As soon as he's done reading his script.
But new statistics, statistics, facts about the economy. It's a disaster.
Yes.
I mean, they said we were coming out of the inflation. Inflation's ticked back up.
And it hurts the working class.
What do you mean inflation's ticked back up? This released September 5th. Let's just check. No, it hasn't. It has not ticked back up. What the hell are you talking about? The last period was July 2023. It was last updated August 10th. And the next release is September 13th. So what are you talking about? It's 3.18 right now, exactly where it was, basically, in the previous term. Hang on. Inflation graph. Okay, let's just check this inflation graph. Right? Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is the inflation graph, apparently. So July 2023, it went to 3.2, and August was the next term that it released, and it was 3.18. No, okay, right here. See, so July was the last term. That was 3.2. Then August 10th was 3.1. And September 13th, as of the airing of Laura Ingram's TV show has not happened yet, because this one came out September 5th, 2023. But apparently it ticked up 0.3%. So it went from 3.2 to 3.1 to 3.4. Inflation is actually basically exactly where you want it. When Trump left office, it was 8.3, I believe. 5-year history here. Okay, 2021. Yeah, okay. So 2021, Trump leaves office. It started to go up because we were dealing with the spending that took place during the Trump presidency to dig us out of the hole of COVID. That totally makes sense. Totally acceptable. I get that. We needed to spend our way out. And then 2022, it hit its peak of, I don't know what its peak was. What was its peak? 8%? Somewhere in there, I think. Yeah, at 8.5%, 9%. And now it's down to about 3.4%, apparently. Inflation is pretty good right now. Could be worse. But Laura Ingraham wants to portray this as like some absolutely evil, disgusting thing. Like Biden has completely screwed the pooch on this one and made a mess of everything. I mean, she is dead set on convincing everybody that Biden is the absolute worst at any cost, even when it's like, he's done a good job of bringing these numbers down and stuff. It's insane.
That's the most.
Yeah, the most. Molly, there was a moment with Peter Doocy and Corinne Jean-Pierre today about the other issue that we talked about.
Oh, my God, dude. Peter Doocy. I cannot stand that dude. He drives me nuts. If you don't know who Peter Doocy is, he's the White House Fox News correspondent, I think, something like that. And he says the most unhinged shit imaginable at like the Fox News or at the White House office or whatever. It's insane what this dude says, some of this stuff. So, okay, let's hear what Peter Doocy had to say here.
Talked about for 2.5 years, which was COVID, because the first lady, the first lady has tested positive for COVID, and the president had pledged that he was always going to be masking now because obviously he was in close proximity. Check it out.
Okay, first of all, masking. I don't remember hearing Biden say he's going to mask when he's in close proximity to his wife. Why would he do something like that? Like he's going to be kissing her and stuff. Like if one spouse gets it, the other spouse is probably going to be getting it, right? But it makes sense that he would put his mask on when he's nearby or out near the press or whatever to protect the press or whatever, just to represent or just to stand up and show people, act as an example of what you should be doing. So, yeah, that makes complete sense to me that he would mask like that when possible to act as an example.
We saw President Biden entering an event today in a mask. Here's some of the video because White House officials tell us he's going to do that after being exposed to the COVID-positive First Lady. No mask in this other video as he was leaving that event. Not sure why he would need one to go in that exact way.
Because he wanted to serve as an example to the American people that wearing a mask is still necessary and it's okay to do. That's why. Are you kidding me with this?
But not to leave.
Yeah, so it was a report, not a back and forth. But I mean, is that hilarious? I guess the Medal of Honor recipient, the mask, he doesn't need the mask, but everybody else. I mean, this whole thing, we all know.
Well, look, as we said, it should serve as an example. The president should serve as an example to everybody else, to the rest of the country. Now, does masking actually work at this moment? I think science has determined that masking may or may not work, especially with specifically with the newest variants. It may reduce the spread a little bit, but I don't think that there's really a need for it within certain contexts in certain areas. If you're in closed spaces and things like that, I don't think that there's a necessity for it. But why not? Who cares? Do it. Why do you care? Just put the damn mask on. Why is it a big deal to you? You know why it's a big deal to Laura Ingraham, of all people? Or why she's spreading the idea that it's a big deal? Because she's brainwashed and she wants you to believe that, there's some big evil out there that's trying to take advantage of everybody. And masking is just complying and all that other garbage. It's ridiculous, dude. Get a life, okay? Please, I'm begging you. Get a life.
Know that this mask thing is a complete joke, and it's just
yet you were
virtue signaling.
You were seeing quite a few Democrat leaders, not just in the White House, but also at the state and local levels, trying to reinstitute mask mandates, even with all of the evidence
we will not comply.
that mask mandates don't work.
Well, I mean, they do. It's just not as effective as we were hoping that it was not too long ago, that we were hoping that it was originally. So, yeah, mask mandates do work, just not as well as we had hoped originally. That's all. These people are dead set on destroying masks and the purpose of wearing them. Like, what the hell is wrong with these people? They are literally getting people killed with this kind of garbage, really. They have got to find a new hobby. This is insane.
Other types of shutdowns. This is something that will not play for Democrats in 2024 the way it played for them in 2020.
I'm tired of sequels, both from Hollywood and from our leadership. I'm done with this. It's over. We have to move on. Let's be serious about this. This is a joke.
I saw two people in a New England state over the past weekend biking outdoors.
Well, she lives in Manhattan, so that's not technically a New England state. I guess she didn't want to say I live in Manhattan. That's my assumption. But, yeah, I think she lives in Manhattan, so just want to point that out. But, okay, so you're... Oh, and by the way, Manhattan is not a New England state. New York City, it's a different area, technically, I think. Not new... Well, I may be part of New England, but it's its own metro area. So, anyways, go on. You saw them biking?
Equals, both from Hollywood and from our leadership. I'm done with this. It's over. We have to move on. Let's be serious about this. This is a joke.
I saw two people in a New England state over the past weekend biking outdoors with what looked like the N95 masks.
They're bringing it back. They're bringing it back.
I cleared a wide berth for that. I don't want them veering toward me in any way.
Why do you care? Why do you care what other people do? And I have I seriously doubt what she's saying here anyways. But what happened to freedom? Why do you care what other people do with their lives? Seriously. Why is it any of your business? Honestly. They are in a perpetual state of persecution. It's absolutely insane to watch.
Ben and Molly, great to see you. All right, the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City. Of course, it used to say it was the place where classic elegance met contemporary luxury. But now, according to the New York Post, it's where police break up violent street brawls.
Okay, so I live in New York City. Not only do I live in New York City, but I live in Manhattan. What they're featuring, what they're picturing here. I live in Manhattan. This is 45th Street, Manhattan, right? What we're looking at right now. Or what we were looking at a second ago. I know exactly how many quote-unquote street brawls there are and stuff, because I walk through the city all the time. So let's see how accurate this is. By the way, the New York Post is an absolutely insane, unglued from reality, right-wing extremist network. Or not network, but news. You can't even call it news, dude. It's crazy. So don't believe a word out of Laura's mouth, certainly. And don't believe a word you see on New York Post, because it's all complete BS. But okay, let's give this a listen.
Toward me in any way. Ben and Molly, great to see you. All right, the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City. Of course, it used to say it was the place.
Yeah, 45th Street. I've actually been here. New York City. This is in Manhattan. They've got what is this? Is this some kind of is this an event taking place? Why are there barriers up? There aren't normally barriers there on 45th. East 45th? This is right in Times Square. This is near Times Square, anyway, technically.
For that, I don't want them veering toward me in any way. Ben and Molly, great to see you. All right, the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City. Of course, it used to say it was the place where classic elegance met contemporary luxury. But now, according to the New York Post, it's where police break up violent street brawls between illegal aliens and where hotel workers struggle to keep up with the piles of garbage that they all leave behind. Our own Raymond.
Yeah, that's New York City. Have you ever seen the piles of garbage? For real. We have 1.2 million people in Manhattan alone. My neighborhood, just like my, I don't know, 2 block by 10 block radius that I live in has twice as many people as the city that I used to live in, Huntington, West Virginia, back in the day. Just my 2 by 10 block radius here. Yeah, there's a lot of garbage in New York City. Is this news to you? Of course it's not. Laura Ingraham lives in New York City. Just insane, dude. Insane.
Arroyo is on the scene.
I mean, it's not insane. You know what it is? It's just pure unadulterated propaganda. It's intentionally set up to propagandize to people, to lie them into believing something that is simply untrue. That's what we're watching right now.
Met contemporary luxury. But now, according to the New York Post, it's where police break up violent street brawls between illegal aliens and where hotel workers struggle to keep up with the piles of garbage that they all leave behind. Our own Raymond Arroyo is on the scene, has all the details. Raymond.
Laura, since May, 41 illegal immigrants now housed here at the Roosevelt Hotel by the city of New York, courtesy of the taxpayers, have been arrested here. The violence has broken out, a lot of domestic violence here.
Okay, this is just complete bullshit. I get so sick of hearing this, okay? Manhattan is not a violent place at all. I live in Manhattan. I travel through Manhattan regularly. I go from Manhattan to Queens and Queens to Manhattan and the Bronx to Brooklyn or whatever. Like, I'm all over the place. There is nothing dangerous about traveling through this place. And you know what? I'll add this on top of it. My kid travels on the subway alone, on her own. Just goes on the subway, does whatever she wants, goes wherever, without worrying about some crazy shit happening. Manhattan is a perfectly safe place. Seriously. These people live in like a delusional fantasy and want to convince you that like New York City is this hellscape where like people are dying on the streets every 5 seconds because migrants live here or some other nonsense. It's all made up, guys. Every last bit of it is completely fabricated. Seriously.
But there have been other offenses. Officers hit over the head with parking signs. Employees struck. This is apparently a reoccurring theme at the Roosevelt. But I want to show you something outside. You'll note.
Okay, the Roosevelt Hotel. Yeah, it's a famous hotel. I have no idea what they're talking about with, people being struck or whatever. Like, what? Again, my kid walks down the street of Manhattan and doesn't worry about any of this shit happening to her, and I don't worry about it either. I feel perfectly safe sending my kid out to the store or whatever on her own. They just, like, these people live in a delusional fantasy where this is like some kind of a hellscape.
Notice these scooters, mopeds. They strewn the streets on all sides of the Roosevelt, but they have no licenses. If you look at the back.
That's true. They don't need licenses because it's a certain type of scooter that doesn't require. It's basically like a bicycle. All of these people are following the law. And what it looks like they're doing here is they are photographing or they're videotaping or whatever an area. Honestly, it looks like it. What are they in front of right now? Lauren B. Hang on. Let me just look this up on maps because I will be able to tell you exactly what this is. Okay, so they're in the Diamond District, it looks like. Where are they exactly? Okay, so they're on East 49th and 5th Avenue, looks like. Yeah, so close to Times Square, but not quite in Times Square, I believe. I would be willing to bet anything that this is actually a scooter sales shop nearby that's displaying their scooters. Or there's a restaurant nearby and a bunch of Grubhub delivery people are waiting. These people will propagandize at any cost. It's insane.
Courtesy of the taxpayers, have been arrested here. The violence has broken out, a lot of domestic violence here, but there have been other offenses.
Okay, well, let's see evidence if any of this is true. I'm sorry, you have lost all credibility with me at this point. I don't believe a word out of these people's mouths. There have been incidents of domestic violence. Show me examples. Show me the sheets, the arrest records and the whatever. Show me. They have lost all credibility.
Officers hit over the head with parking signs. Employees struck.
Show us evidence. Give me anything, literally anything. He's making wild accusations right now he's standing out here on the corner, and it looks perfectly calm and fine and normal. How does he expect anybody to believe a word out of his mouth when he's saying at this exact very spot there's violence that breaks out every 15 seconds? He's just standing here. Seriously. I can't believe that he suckers people into buying any of this garbage. This is nuts.
This is apparently a reoccurring theme at the Roosevelt, but I want to show you something outside. You'll notice these scooters, mopeds. They strewn this.
Yeah, usually you don't have like mopeds lined up so perfectly and cleanly and nicely next to each other without chains like this, unless it's like a sales shop. So I'm not even convinced that these aren't just out here for sale.
Streets on all sides of the Roosevelt, but they have no licenses. If you look at the back, there's no licenses on these vehicles. They're all unregistered. Now,
yeah, I think these are for sale, honestly. I've never seen anybody line any of their bicycles up so perfectly and cleanly before. Like in Manhattan, they have these things that come out of the ground and they're round like this. It's really weird looking. I didn't have any idea what it was at first. Here's a picture of it if you've never seen it before. This is what it looks like. They're just these weird round things in the middle of the sidewalk, and you can lock your stuff to it. And trust me, if you don't lock your stuff to it, somebody will walk away with it. So you need to lock it every single time. Anyway, if there were really mopeds out there, they would be locked to this, unless either it was a sales shop for mopeds, or it's like some kind of a Grubhub delivery place, and they're all like, there's somebody out there watching them 24/7 or something. This is what they'd be locking their stuff to. I have no clue, honestly, what we're even looking at right now. I've never seen anything like this with these mopeds lined up so perfectly. What are they locked to?
What are they here for? How do they get brand new mopeds and motorcycles? Well, I'm told by authorities, part of this is the migrants deliver food, some deliver weed, and some deliver other migrants all.
Oh my God, give me a break, dude. Some deliver, this is just painfully stupid. Honestly. The migrants deliver food, some deliver weed. Come on, dude. Well, first of all, weed is legalized in New York City, so maybe they do deliver weed because it's legal. This is all propagandistic garbage. Is it obvious to anybody else? Seriously, this is just painfully stupid. So what he's saying is migrants are getting jobs. That's what I'm reading here, right? Migrants are getting jobs. Wow, that's fantastic. Great. They're not a drain on society. They're actually working. Fantastic. Awesome. That's what I was shooting for.
All over town.
Yeah, some deliver communism. Right, exactly.
Now, what are they here for? How do they get brand new mopeds and motorcycles? Well, I'm told by authorities, part of...
I truly don't believe that. I think that I deeply, to the bottom of my heart, doubt that these were given to migrants or whatever, or that they were stolen, as is being implied here, or some other thing. They were probably hired by a company, or honestly, these mopeds are just here to be sold. This could be like a moped sales shop. That's very possible. Or a repair shop. Could be a moped repair shop.
Part of this is the migrants deliver food, some deliver weed, and some deliver other migrants all over town. I spoke to some of the locals here about the...
What does he mean, deliver other migrants all over town? Does he mean like Uber? Is he describing like a taxi right now? Some migrants deliver other migrants? That's one way of referring to it as a taxi. Okay.
Impact of having this migrant shelter in the middle of Manhattan, 46th Street and Madison, and how it's affected their lives and their businesses.
Okay, that's not where he was standing. He was standing on, I looked at it on the map. He was standing on 5th Avenue and 49th Street. Where is Madison, Park, Lexington? Hang on, where is Madison Avenue? Wait, Madison Avenue is in relation to 5th. Park, Madison. Okay. Yeah, so he's like 2 blocks away, actually. Or like a block and a half away. No, wait a minute. Madison. Where did he say? Let me just step back. Listen one more time.
Deliver other migrants all over town. I spoke to some of the locals here about the impact of having this migrant shelter in the middle of Manhattan, 46th Street and Madison.
46th and Madison? I looked it up. He's on 5th Avenue and 49th. So he is actually like 3-4 blocks away. This isn't the migrant shelter. He's just standing in some random location right now, next to Laura B. something or other. These people will go to any lengths to propagandize. This is honestly sad. Seriously.
And how it's affected their lives and their businesses.
Well, I'm a local. I live in this area. It doesn't affect anything. I didn't even, you couldn't even tell that, quote-unquote, migrants were here. It's no different than it was before. And actually, you know what? It's extremely valuable to the economy to add more people to it. Anyway.
You're right next door to the Roosevelt Hotel. What impact has this had on your business, foot traffic, etc.?
Actually, it's really disgusting because every day I have to come out about 3 or 4 times.
Ooh, this is the Man on the Street segment. I love it. This is a propaganda technique that I'm calling Man on the Street. So here's what they do. They will stand around, these, the Fox News crew. This guy on screen here, he'll stand around and he'll interview like 100 people. And he'll have 100 examples of, people espousing all kinds of different opinions. Oh, the migrants, I don't care. They're not bothering me. Mostly that's what it is. I'm very sure of it because I live here. But every now and then you'll find somebody who is upset about it to some degree for some reason. And they will zero those out and say, look, people are upset the migrants are here, even though the vast majority said they're not. Miki, hey, Miki, hang on. Miki, get out of there. Miki, get. Come on. Don't get behind there. Sorry, Miki was trying to get behind my shelves. Don't get back there, kitty. For one thing, there are plugs back there. Lots of plugs. And the last thing I need is for Miki to have a seizure while she's back there standing around the plugs and piss on the plugs and then cause an electrical fire. That would be bad. I do not want her back there. But she seems to be doing fine right now. She's just exploring, I guess. Anyway, they'll go through all of these Man on the Street segments. They'll find all of the men on the street that agree with them. They'll play those parts and only those parts, thus implying that there's some truth to whatever narrative they're trying to push on people, basically. That's how it works. It's a propaganda technique. I don't know if it has a name, but maybe it's just called the Man on the Street propaganda technique. I don't know, but that's what I'm naming it. Let me look that up. I'm not actually, I guess this one doesn't have a name as a propaganda technique. Most propaganda is named after the fallacy that it's based on, so there's a corresponding fallacy, but not always. There's a fire hose of falsehoods propaganda. That's an example of a propaganda technique that doesn't have a corresponding fallacy to it. But anyways, that's what I'm naming this one. Man on the Street propaganda.
their lives and their businesses. You're right next door to the Roosevelt Hotel. What impact has this had on your business, foot traffic, etc.?
You are right next to the hotel. Did he say what he did? Does he have a business there? What's his business? Is his business actually next to the hotel? Or are they just saying you're standing next to the hotel? You're standing right next to the hotel. Tell us how this has affected you personally. I'm getting the impression that's what's being communicated here.
Well, it's really disgusting because every day I have to come out about 3 or 4 times or even at times 10 times to talk to the people because it looks like even they don't know that they are in Midtown. They don't know the meaning of this area. So
they don't know they're in Midtown. Okay. What does that mean? They don't know the meaning of this area? Is that what he just said?
At times I come, I see them touching the glasses, playing with the glasses. I have to talk to them. It's really...
Go f*** yourself. I'll touch a f***ing piece of glass if I want. You don't tell me which glass to f***ing touch. Okay? Let me tell you something about Midtown Manhattan. If you have a business in Midtown, you can bet your bottom dollar your glass is going to get touched. You're going to have fingerprints all over that motherfucker. Okay? You're in Midtown. Where the f*** do you think you are? You know how... Do you have any idea how many people are passing through Midtown Manhattan right now? 1.2 million people live here. On Manhattan Island. That doesn't account for all of the tourists that pass through and all of the everybody. God, how many people are on Manhattan Island at any given moment? Let's see if I can find out. The answer changes from day to day, but for work days, it's 4 million because of all the commuters. Because people are coming in from Jersey City, Brooklyn, Long Island, or whatever to work here. But that doesn't even count tourists. I was wondering how many tourists we have, and apparently Manhattan population is 1.63 million now. I thought it was 1.2. 4.1 million people, basically, are on the island at any given moment. And Midtown is the center of everything. That's Times Square. That's all of it. You think people aren't touching the fucking windows? Of course they are. I mean, seriously. He's acting like migrants are just like these mongrels that don't know how to act. Give me a fucking break. There's nothing special about Midtown. That's the thing. You have to clean your windows every 15 minutes if you want them to be perfectly clean. Welcome to Midtown. First time? Midtown is notorious for being, dirty. It's not really as dirty as it used to be because they had people going around picking up the trash. They have workers that pick up trash and sweep in the area and stuff. Not to mention the fact that stores like this have to hire people to go out there and sweep up and clean and make sure their storefront looks nice and everything else. That's just part of the deal. And this dude's complaining about look, you don't have to be in Midtown. Move to Brooklyn or move your business to Brooklyn if that's what you want to do. Oh, you don't want to move to Brooklyn because there are so many people that pass through Midtown at any given moment. You're going to get a ton of business. Well, guess what? People passing through Midtown, that thing that benefits you so much, comes with a price. You have to clean your windows.
To talk to
Dude says, hey, stop touching the window. Do you know where you are? Exactly, yeah. So stupid. Seriously. What a ridiculous thing to say or imply or whatever. It's just a joke.
the people because it looks like even they don't know that they are in Midtown. They don't know the meaning of this area. So at times I come, I see them touching the glasses, playing with the glasses. I have to talk to them. It's really...
What the hell does that mean, playing with the glasses? I don't know what that means. They play with the glass? They play with the window? How do you play with a window? I don't understand. He has to come talk to them, tell them, hey, you're in Midtown. Stop being an idiot. Is that what he's telling me right now? What the hell? Midtown is a city. Or it's in a city. Manhattan is a city, you poor fool. Did you really not expect people to touch a window?
It has really affected the business.
Laura, this is not going to stop. These immigrants continue to come. This is, if you will, the loading dock for the Roosevelt Hotel. Receiving. This is where immigrants come by the busloads. They get processed right here on the corner, and they move into shelters like this, and they're going to keep coming because...
Yeah, that's good, actually. That's a good thing. The more immigrants, the better, honestly. I live in Manhattan. I am affected by this issue, and I am saying the more immigrants, the better. Do you have any idea how much Manhattan charges in taxes, city taxes? New York City charges an obscene amount of money in taxes, or an obscene percentage in taxes, and then New York State, and then federal, and then blah, blah, blah. You know why they charge that? To pay for things like this, to make sure that migrants have a place to stay when they arrive or whatever. And I'm totally 100% happy with that. I'm happy with my money going to that. Not only do I want my money taking care of people, but I also, making sure they're okay and everything else. But migrants or immigrants or whatever, they make the place better. They make economic activity boom. There are more bodies here to make purchases, to make deliveries. I mean, you heard them earlier. They had jobs. They're doing economic stimulation. It's a good thing to have immigrants come into a country or a city or whatever. Why are Republicans so anti-immigrant? It couldn't possibly be better for an economy to have immigrants come in. There's only one reason I can possibly think of that would explain why Republicans don't want immigrants in a country. I don't know, what other reason there could possibly be, considering how economically stimulative it is.
New York City has a huge lure out to these illegal immigrants. That would be their right to shelter law.
Okay, there may be a right to shelter law. I don't even know if that's true. But do you have any idea how many homeless people there are in New York City? There may be a right to shelter law. I don't know. I don't even know what that law says or what it means or whatever. But it doesn't mean that they shelter everybody in the area, because there are a ton of homeless people around, so.
It has really affected the business.
Laura, this is not going to stop. These immigrants continue to come. This is, if you will, the loading dock for the Roosevelt Hotel. Receiving. This is where immigrants come by the busloads. They get processed right here on the corner, and they move into shelters like this. And they're going to keep coming because New York City has a huge lure out to these illegal immigrants. That would be their right to shelter law. Everyone in New York City is entitled to a roof over their head.
Okay, I don't know if that's true or not, but that would not explain all of the homeless people here. But that would be fantastic. Yes, I want more of that. Everyone in New York City. New York City is more than just Manhattan, for the record. It's Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island, and Manhattan. So this is just pure unadulterated propaganda coming from somebody that lives on Manhattan Island. I live here, where this guy is right now. He's probably within 5 miles of me. This is just completely made up.
Illegal immigrants, that would be their right to shelter law. Everyone in New York City is entitled to a roof over their head. I'll have a full report tomorrow. Back to you, Laura.
All right, Ray, thank you. The scooters. I thought I had seen it all. All right.
This is a fucking joke, dude. This is so ridiculous. I don't even know what to do with it. Absolutely absurd.